Just random. I think it was Zerg in the loading screen, right?
Yeah, it's Zerg.
It was Zerg,
Oh,
right?
because there is no wall off.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering. Because I'm like, yeah, having no wall off sucks. It's not just that. This wall off sucks. So no matter what happens with this wall off, you always want to have the entrance kind of on the back side of your base. Because if your entrance is down here, in messy situations, your opponent's units are going to be here. So units trying to get down to defend your natural are kind of like getting exposed to roaches or hydras or marines or whatever down here. So it's always better to have the choke point on the inside of your wall. It also means to defend mineral lines. Say there's mutas flying between your base. Your stalkers are going to have to run around rather than just running straight through the top side of that ramp and having a much clearer path. That detour is painstaking if you've got units in your mineral line, banshees, mutas, whatever. So that's something to focus on for sure. So looking at the build order, definitely there's like a ton of resources floating and there's no wall off or anything. So it does seem like, you know, standard thing, expansion going down a bit late, that sort of stuff. Like we've just got a lot of minerals we can focus on spending, like 700 minerals floating. And there's like really, really, really obsessive scouting here from Cassadun and now cancelling structures. But there doesn't seem to be a clear game plan in what we're trying to go for. So this is one where we can talk a little bit about an opening and how important that is, because especially for Protoss, it is so important, especially in Protoss versus Zerg. You don't have a clear game plan, a clear opening. Ooh, you're going to find a lot about Dicktown very quickly. Whether or not you wanted to go to Dicktown, you're going to go there. You're going to have a real party. There's going to be all sorts of butt plugs and dildos and things. It's going to be scary. If you're not used to that sort of thing, you guys are going to have to warm up to it. So there's no tech here either. So we're going to be very impotent. Without tech, you really can't do a lot to the Zerg. You don't have a prism, you don't have an oracle or anything. Dicktown, population Protoss, if you don't have a wall off or a good game plan, yeah. So this is why it's really, really important to do that. So what league was this one, by the way?
It's Diamond. No, I mean, sorry, Platinum was.
So that's fascinating, because Cassadun is clearly a by feel gamer then. Because Cassadun has insane APM, has been microing scouts around a lot, and is generally keeping up with like Chrono Boost and stuff. It's just very disorganized. So this is the sort of player who could very easily be Diamond 1 in like a month of playing a ton. If they're like, you know, if they have a lot of free time, or a few months if they don't. Just because they're clearly like pretty good at just clicking things quickly and like they're queuing up actions and stuff and setting rally points. But there's just no build order plan whatsoever in terms of getting a clear goal. Like we built a few zealots, we took a very late expansion, we've gone for some adepts, and then we're gonna go for a twilight. But like by the time any upgrade finishes, say glaives, we'll be at like 35 adepts. Like it's so late, and we're giving the Zerg all the freedom in the world to do whatever the hell they want. So this is something where this is, I think, very useful for Protoss and Protoss vs Zerg specifically. So this is going to be cool to talk about. Knifel, thanks for the tier 1 sub. Really appreciate that support. So the important thing against Zerg, but really as Protoss in general, you just want to make sure you have a clear, tight pressure game plan. If you're going to do an adept pressure, we could easily have done this and had glaives already finished, and this would be infinitely more powerful. Now we're going into a Templar Archives behind it, but we still don't have a wall on our natural. 20 lings running in could just lose us the game right now. So this wall off already is, as I said, not the best before, but you absolutely should be walling off the front of your natural against Zerg every game. You should build your pylon here or in the wall and get your wall off, leave a single space gap, and you'll be very comfortable. We see here the adepts have moved across. They don't see a third. Now they're running away and glaives is starting. It's just, it's so disorganized, and we're really lucky that this Zerg is not building a Roach Warren and is instead just relying on Queen Zergling. Because if they went for other units, yeah, like Roaches, we would be really screwed. As it was, we were able to force a decent reaction. And we definitely want to go for a third base a lot earlier, especially if we're going to rely on late game upgrades like Psystorm. Immortals are an amazing addition as well. We have no robos in this game, which means we won't be able to clear creep. Oh, we do have a robo now, single one. And it's just kind of this odd composition where we haven't really been tight in what we're trying to achieve, right? So let's map this out. What are the key changes that I would do here? Where I would say, okay, what could I do a little bit differently? Let's get my document. All right, so PVZ. disorganized to organized is what we're going to call this. What would be a couple of things that I would note down that we have to do? All right, step 1. Always wall off your natural with your first pylon versus Zerg. All right, that's the first one. Next one. Don't bother scouting so much with your probe. There was so much APM spent on that probe in the early game. What for? You need to have a set thing you're looking for and a set reaction. You see a really fast spawning pool, no expansion. Okay, we have a set reaction to that. Probe goes home. Don't need to keep scouting. Oh, we see a fast hatchery. Cool. We know it's a hatch first. Go home. Don't need to keep scouting. But we were kind of staring at that probe non-stop. So don't bother scouting so much with your probe. And most importantly, get a tight build. So what should a tight build be, guys? Number 1, it should have built-in, it should have fast expansions, little floating money. Remember, we were floating 800 minerals very early in this game, which is huge lost opportunity cost. Little floating resources, fast expansions if we're playing macro, and pre-planned tight pressure. An example, we could go 10 adepts with glaives, and then big 60 probe, 4 immortal, charge lot, arc on timing, attack. Aims to win game, something like that. Just that already is like, okay, cool. And the big part is the pre-planned, is the build order. Little floating resources. Yeah. The tight build. Tight build is everything. Because I could have hit with adepts minutes earlier, and had a third base behind it and done all this stuff. Whilst we are kind of finally getting across and hitting with an attack, if you don't have a third base, you're committing to basically what is an all-in attack. It's past 8 minutes, you don't have a third. Normally we want to have a third no later started than about 6 minutes in Platinum League, I would say. At pro level, you don't have your third started by like 5:30. Shit's going really weird. But if Platinum level, it's like 6:30, you still haven't started the third, what's going on? And the thing is, that's okay if you're going all in and you're committing to an attack. The problem here is we haven't had tight attack timings or tight macro timings. Right now, here's a good example. Forges. Forges are for late game. Upgrades are going to give us benefit over a long game where we have a large income. Storm is going to give us benefit over long games where we have a large income. But we've gone Storm double upgrades, but we don't have a third base, so we don't have the economy for a longer game. So because of that, we can kind of look at this and say, okay, we need to just have a clearer game plan. Are we all inning? Are we trying to kill them? Or are we just doing a bit of pressure while macroing up? We need to choose one of those and we need to stick to it. Because in this game, there's no clear how are we going to secure an advantage. How are we going to make sure our opponent's not being a greedy Zerg piece of shit? Here's a hint, most Zergs are greedy pieces of shit. I think that would have just made it a massive difference. I mean, we've got Storm, but we've got no High Templar here, unfortunately. Looks like it's going to be a decently powerful attack, especially if the Zerg doesn't use Transfuse. Oh my lord. The Zerg didn't use Transfuse. The whole defense was based around Queen Spinecrawler. They didn't use Transfuse. So we did get, like, lucky there. We might actually win this game. No, there's just too much money in the bank. T-Mock is not spending the money. T-Mock hasn't been injecting. Ooh, T-Mock missing a lot of injects there. If T-Mock was able to spend the money, we'd be able to hang on, but instead it's going to be like a barely a hold, if at all. Oh my gosh, this game gets messy. But we're only on 2 bases. Oh, if only we had a third. Even when you're going all in, I always like having a third Nexus. Then you can at least start probing it up in that. Yeah, whereas this is just so late. We really need Immortals, and like we're just starting upgrades now, so yeah. Just not too much of a game plan. It's kind of like really good by flow. This is like honestly some of the highest level play I've seen out of a player for having so little game plan. So hats off to Casadun. I feel like you've got, you know, instinctive, some good shit going on. You add a bit of structure to it, you're going to level up really fast. What was the original question? How do you defend 3 base Roach Hydra timing attack? Or Roach Ravager?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, yeah. Immortals are going to be everything against this. You get to 10 Immortals and some Psystorm against this sort of army. Oh, it's just the best. So yeah, I think double Robo is something I do every PvZ, but especially if I see them building roaches, I'm like, oh yeah, let's got to go double Robo Immortal production, dude. So we didn't focus on that enough this game. We also recalled, and then our Archons got stuck in our base. So we probably should have killed the Cybercore and rebuilt that somewhere else. And then these Archons could have rejoined our army. Another thing you can do is multi-prong a little bit. Our army is kind of 1Aing around a little bit. If we had a Warp Prism or a Pylon on the right, once you get to Storm in your army, that's meant to be like the center of your army almost. But we've only ever really had one High Templar chilling with our force. A few more finally rallying over. And the way it works is whenever they engage into you, they're clumped up. So you pull back, drop storms, A move, pull back, drop storms, A move. And each time they chase you down, their units are clumping more and more and they're eating terrible, horrendous storms. But it's hard for you to force your way into their territory, especially on creep, because they can just, they're so fast, they can kind of run through the storms, they can surround you. So a good way to do that is to take your very expendable units, your zealots, and you keep warping those in and sending them around to counterattack. So you say your main army's on the left like it is here, our zealots would be counterattacking the right and trying to get into the economy. But this moment here, our army is at a terrible weak point. We've gone to the macro game where we need to have as much Storm and Immortals and Archons together as possible, and we've gone into our opponent's territory basically on creep. We still haven't got charge ready just yet, and we've kind of just given him the engagement he wants. So remember what we were talking about in that ZVT analysis just before this. Roaches, this here is poo. This is shit. A bit of crap there. Like, the longer the game, this army's trash. This is the sort of shit you find in a dumpster. This is not an army that Abathur spends years, like, making. This is the sort of shit where Kerrigan's like, give me some stuff to just kill some shitty, like, fucking colony. And he's like, yeah, take the trash Roach Ravager Hydra. It's pretty shit. They don't have siege tanks or storm, right? And she's like, yeah, they don't. It's fine. Just give me the crap. Give me the dregs. 0-0 Roach Hydra. Don't even have Roach speed. No Hydra upgrades. This army is really weak if we just stayed at home and built up Immortal Storm. So I'm not saying we need to play a very defensive Immortal Storm style, but if we're going to go to this point in the game, hells yeah, we do. Up to there, though, there's so much that could have gone better just by having a clearer game plan, and that would have made a massive difference in this game. So GG, well played. Casa doing there with some great APM. Certain aspects of the play looking really good. Just needs a tighter game plan to kind of stitch it all together and start bringing that play into the next